Green eggs and ham.
Coming up!
You don't like green eggs and ham?
No, I do not like them, Sam. I do not like green eggs and ham.
Hey, hello, how do you do? Shady Doorags here. Over the years, we've gotten plenty of adaptations to the beloved Dr. Seuss stories, from the Doorags to Horton Hears a Who to multiple versions of The Grinch. Now, personally, I tend to have a good time with these modern versions. In fact, the only release of Dr. Seuss product that I can say I genuinely dislike is the live-action Cat in the Hat. But despite my fondness for these adaptations, most critics, including myself, can agree that none of them even come close to being worthy of the legacy the Seuss man left behind. Well, none of them, except one. Green eggs and ham. I remember when I first heard about the show back in 2019. I saw the trailer a week before it aired and I said out loud, "It doesn't matter if that's good or bad, I'm gonna love it." See, I adore the Dr. Seuss stories. I was one of those kids with the collections and whatnot. In fact, there was an entire shelf on my bookcase dedicated exclusively to Dr. Seuss books. As an adult, my favorite story is a tie between All the Places You'll Go and the Doorags. But as a kid, no book reigned more supreme than Green Eggs and Ham. At night, right before bed, my older sister would read it to me and she'd always do a funny voice whenever she got to the tunnel page.
In the dark? Here in the dark? Would you? Could you? In the dark?
Thus, Green Eggs and Ham has my nostalgia. In order to get me, of all people, to hate it, it would have to be extraordinarily bad, which admittedly was a possibility. But to my surprise, not only do I love this show because of my nostalgia, but even without that, it's genuinely a fantastic experience. I would watch it here, I would watch it there, in fact, I'd watch it anywhere. And after I watched it, I thought there would be a plethora of YouTubers doing videos talking about how there's finally a worthy adaptation of a Dr. Seuss product, given how much they've been criticized over the years. Imagine my shock when it's 2 years later and the only big names that pop up on YouTube for a review of this masterpiece are Saberspark and Spockter? Freaking Spockter? Cartoon reviewing community. What are we doing with our lives? Is Disenchantment really worth more of our time than this magnificent beast? I'm really glad season 2 is on the way for Green Eggs and Ham, but can you imagine if the show got canceled because we didn't give it enough attention? It would be all our faults, especially Tariq's. Well, I'm here to rectify this injustice and tell you intellectuals why you absolutely need to check out the show if you already haven't. But first, a quick recap. Green Eggs and Ham is about a failed inventor named Guy M.I. After having all his inventions literally explode in his face, Guy decides to head to the city of Meatville to pursue a new career of watching paint dry. Meanwhile, there's also Sam I Am. Sam has stolen a rare animal known as a chigiraffe, claiming he's returning the creature from the zoo to its rightful environment, which he has to go to Meatville in order to do. Through circumstances, Guy and Sam wind up helping each other and traveling to Meatville together, feasting on Green Eggs and Ham along the way, as well as being chased by the cops and the bad guys.
Who are you people?
We're the bad guys.
Those bad guys want to sell the poor fellow to a collector.
There's also this overprotective mom named Michelle who's traveling to Meatville with her daughter, Elena Beth, or EB, that Guy and Sam keep running into. Oh, and the CEO who's eagerly awaiting the poachers he hired to bring him the chigiraffe. Alright, so as per usual, let's start with the protagonist.
Is there a Guy M.I. here?
I'm the only person in this room.
You know what? No. Shut up about the protagonist and just look. Look at this show. It is gorgeous. Normally, I only mention the animation as a side note because I generally don't care that much about it. If you have a good story and characters, you can make the show as ugly as you want. It's whatever. But Warner Brothers threw millions of dollars of time and talent into the animation for this, and it shows. Not only is everything stupidly fluid, being done with traditional frame-by-frame method, but the colors. My goodness, the colors! It's like Vincent Kincaid decided to dabble in animation and challenged himself to use simple shading techniques. Everything just blends together so masterfully. The show is worth watching for the visuals alone. I enjoy looking at this. It's like candy for my eyes. No wait, candy isn't good for you. It's like the healthiest vegetables in the world, but they taste like the most delicious candy you've ever experienced. I could go on, but I don't have the experience and technical know-how like other YouTubers to point out exactly why the animation is so amazing. My eyes just know when something looks pretty, and this, it be pretty. Anyway, back to the protagonist.
Are you sure there isn't anyone else you want to squeeze in first?
Nope. You're the absolute very last person they wanted to see.
Guy, like most protagonists, is the center when it comes to the theme of the show. See, the original Green Eggs and Ham story doesn't have bad guys or chickaraffs or EBs. It was simply about Sam trying to get Guy to try something he hadn't before, Green Eggs and Ham. The goal being that the story would teach kids to try new things because they might like them, specifically eating their vegetables, hence the food being green.
You do not like them, so you say. Try them, and you may.
Warner Brothers' version of the story takes the concept one giant leap forward, but never forgets the roots of it.
Have you ever tried them before?
No.
Well, how can you be so sure you don't like them if you've never actually eaten them?
Guy's journey is not only about trying new things like Green Eggs and Ham, but to keep trying in general. As a failed inventor, Guy has developed a mentality that causes him to close himself off to making an effort. He doesn't want to do anything adventurous or risky, lowering the bar for himself so he knows disappointment won't be possible.
Trying new things is the road to disappointment.
Yep, we got a classic case of fear of failure. For those of you who haven't seen the other 920 videos I've done on this subject, fear of failure is the concept where a person has such an intense dread of facing disappointment that they decide to not even try, usually derived from the person having failed multiple times in the past. Guy fits this to the letter. He's probably the most perfect example of a repetitive failure I've seen in fiction, and Michael Douglas playing him is some god-tier casting.
I'm not a felon. I swear I might have jaywalked once, but I'm just trying to ensure that poor animal is safe.
It's tough to be a god.
Like the show, I was gonna like Guy no matter what, simply because he's a failure archetype. But there's one specific moment that sold him to me. This scene instantly, and I mean instantly, made me love everything about Guy.
All that failure has made his hope nearly run dry. But today, he's gonna give it
One last try.
He starts the show by trying. Guy actually started his life out with a can-do attitude and a highly supportive family, but over the years his inventions just kept exploding and it seemed like destiny just didn't want him to become an inventor. Failing became more and more painful as well as more and more predictable, which made trying become more and more difficult. Why try when the results keep telling you it's not gonna work? Ultimately, Guy is supposed to learn to keep trying, even at the risk of failure, but you don't get angry at him for holding the negative opinions he has. With the journey he's been through, he's earned the right to be cynical, even if it isn't the right mentality to have.
Jenkins and I would have been halfway to Meatfield by now. But no, I had to turn around and save you. What was I thinking?
Yeah, what were you thinking?
But of course, while Guy is the protagonist, the story wouldn't be complete without the face of Green Eggs and Ham, Sam I Am. Sam is Guy's foil throughout the show. He's always upbeat, always looking on the positive side, and of course, always ready to try.
How do you know you won't like it if you've never tried it?
I like the way you think.
When I saw Sam and how eerily cheery he was, I thought I was gonna hate him. In the original story, Guy is minding his own business and Sam just won't leave him alone until he tries Green Eggs and Ham. As a kid, this was funny. As an adult introvert, this would tick me off. And indeed, Sam does have that busybody-esque atmosphere about him, trying to constantly be a part of Guy's life and getting Guy to try not only Green Eggs and Ham, but seeing the positivity in life.
Make that 2 orders, Donna, on me.
No, just oat mush and a spoon.
Sad man special.
But the show did 3 things with Sam that balanced out his character. 1, Sam isn't only fixated on Guy. He instantly grows attached to anyone he meets and hopes they'll be friends with him.
I should probably just give you my address in case you and the kitchen stuff feel like coming by.
I still have it, Sam. From the last time you invited us.
It's not like SpongeBob, who's friends with literally everyone in Bikini Bottom, but for some reason feels the need to bother Squidward. Sam really wants someone, anyone, to be a lasting friend. But Guy is the only one who willingly re-entered his life after leaving it. Even if it was supposed to only be for a moment, this makes Sam latch on to Guy like he's never latched on to anyone else.
Why do you have so many aliases?
Nobody's ever wanted me to stay the same person before.
2, Sam shows he genuinely cares about Guy.
Hey, Donna, sorry to be a nudge, but my briefcase buddy here is still waiting on an oat mush.
Thank you.
None of this Fritz and Val nonsense where they pretend to care about the other person, but really only care about themselves. Yes, Sam can be overbearing and not take certain cues, but the effort to care for Guy's needs specifically is clearly there. He sees that Guy is struggling in a lot of parts of his life, and he genuinely wants to be there for him as a friend.
Save yourself before they put you away forever.
I don't care! I'll go back to jail for 10 forevers before I'd leave my best friend behind.
And 3, how do I explain this? So, one of the problems with Optimus is that it often feels like they only carry the opinions they have because they've never been through anything. There is a scene where Sam reveals that's not the case for him. He knows what Guy is going through when it comes to failing over and over again. Now, normally I'd show you clips from the scene to prove my point, but for once in my life, I'm not going to spoil what happened because this is supposed to be a video to get new people to watch the show, and the scene I'm referring to is honestly one of the best moments in a cartoon I've ever witnessed. I will spoil the crap out of the rest of the show, but I really want people to experience that one scene raw for themselves. The point, however, is while it could have been easy to have Sam fall into the category of annoying, he's got multiple traits in him that keep him likable. Shoot, maybe even lovable.
Hey, wait a minute. You're that sad and dangerous inventor who wanted to strap explosives to my child's back.
And the deranged lunatic from the side of the road.
E.B. and Michelle are characters that weren't in the original story. Like Guy and Sam, they add to the theme with their opposite personalities. Michelle is overprotective and safe, not willing to try anything that has even the slightest chance of going wrong.
Never pick up hitchhikers on the side of the road, E.B., or anywhere else for that matter.
Meanwhile, E.B. is adventurous and curious, wanting to explore anything that looks like fun. Because, you know, she's a kid.
Sugargraph catching apparatus complete.
Michelle and E.B. are a nice break from Sam and Guy shenanigans, while also adding to them on occasion. The main duo will sometimes break off from each other, and we get to see their personalities work off of someone else.
I'm not sure your mom would approve of that.
Exactly.
I'm vegan.
Oh, I'm so sorry. I didn't realize.
I really like Michelle's origin story, how she had to give up her dream because being an artist didn't give her a secure lifestyle. And with E.B. in her life, she had to take up bean counting because it was more secure, but she has no regrets because she loves E.B. more than anything. I see a lot of shows constantly criticizing authority, and obviously it's a message that needs to be said, but I appreciate that this one takes the time to understand where Michelle is coming from and what made her the way she is. She wasn't always boring, it's just her drive to protect her daughter eventually overwrote every other instinct in her.
Is he okay?
Oh, I'm sorry. Is aging against the law now? He's fine.
Guy's my favorite character because of how much I relate to him, but absolutely no doubt, I have the most fun with the bad guys. This duo chases after Sam and Guy, trying to take the Chikoraph from them, and along the way, they get into their own shenanigans. McWinkle is the old timer. Retrieving the Chikoraph is his final job, and once it's done, he can retire.
This was no escape. Someone broke in and took that Chikoraph. That someone has the animal. He is our target.
Glunt is a young new recruit, and for several episodes, I could not tell if she was a boy or a girl.
Now spill the beans!
Those are just hats.
Yeah, duh!
Glunt is adorable, and I will murder anyone who harms her. In this show, you will get foiling and comedy from every angle. The bad guys are the best source of both of them. I love the way these two work off of each other, and they got me to laugh out loud way more than anyone else.
Oh, that's right. This was supposed to be your one last job. You were ready to pack it up, but oh boy, that is not happening today. Not yet. Not today.
So there are 3 other prominent characters worth mentioning, but not really worth going into. Mr. Jenkins, the Chikoraph himself, Snurd, the evil CEO who wants the Chikoraph as a trophy, and the Goat, a separate poacher hired by Snurd. There's not really much to say about any of these characters. They do fine jobs as characters, but they don't add enough to the show that gives me a whole lot to talk about.
Hey, man, you gotta get in on this. I got enough for both of us.
No, I will not eat them in a car.
Okay.
Greetings and Ham is both a reboot and an adaptation of the original story. Thus, it has 2 very important jobs to do. It needs to be both updated so that it appeals to the current generation, as well as remember what made the original special. If you're not going to do something new, then why shouldn't people just go and experience the previous version? And if you're not going to appeal to old fans, then why use an old story? Why not just make a new story altogether? Green Eggs and Ham succeeds at accomplishing both of these extremely well. Like I said, the show does a good job of expanding the theme of the original story while adding a bunch of new elements. Not only that, but there are a ton of references to other Dr. Seuss classics.
Oh, the places you'll go.
Let's get a head count.
Can we get more blankets over here?
1 fish, 2 fish, and there's red fish and blue.
Sure. And last night there was a wazit in your closet.
An amazing touch is that each episode is named after the major rhymes in the original story. Each episode finds an interesting way to work the rhyme into the plot, as well as the actual food, green eggs and ham. And I think it's genius that the first episode, where the journey starts, is called Here, and the episode where the journey ends is called There, and the very last episode is called Anywhere. So I think I made it clear that I really like this show. Now, does it do everything perfect? Well, no. It's time, boys and girls, to point out the flaws. First and foremost is the narrator.
Just east of Northwestville and south of Gubai, a town known as Glurfsburg might catch your eye.
I've seen narrators in general get a lot of hate just for being narrators, but a good narrator in a show can help enhance the experience. I mean, everyone loves the narrator from the Powerpuff Girls.
This is a villain so evil, so sinister, so horribly vile, that even the utterance of his name strikes fear into the hearts of men.
The problem is, film and television are visual medias, and us critics don't like when visual medias decide to tell us what's going on instead of showing us, or arguably even worse, spell out what's happening while it happens, which is literally a narrator's job. Originally, I felt the narrator for Green Eggs and Ham didn't fall into this category because there are moments where he brings legitimate charm and contributes to the story in unique ways.
And right over there is a narrator muter.
I wonder what that does.
Wait, hold on. No, stop turning the dial, please. I can't.
However, after watching the show multiple times, I ultimately have to place the narrator in the things I don't like pile. Too often, he does exactly what people don't like narrators to do: state what's going on in the scene, which makes him take away from the experience rather than add to it.
Oh dear. Guy's just upset. I'm sure he didn't mean it.
Oh, and goodness, shut up. This is an important emotional part of the show. I don't need you to tell me how the characters are feeling. Just let me experience it. By the way, I'm not blaming Keegan-Michael Key, the actor who played this role. This is clearly more about directing and writing. Next on the flaws, we're going to backtrack and talk about Michelle and EB again. While I do like Michelle and EB and think it was a good idea to add them to the show, I think ultimately they brought it down more than they brought it up. Michelle and EB are the source of most of the cringe moments, particularly with Michelle. Whether it's her trying to loosen up for EB or her trying to flirt with Guy, it just leads to some really awkward moments.
Are you kidding? Woo-hoo! I am so pumped up.
Bones! Bones us!
But that's technically a personal preference. There are plenty of people out there who love cringe. I think a more objective criticism is Michelle's repetitive story beats with Guy. Michelle has constant misunderstandings with Guy, which makes her hate him, and then winds up forgiving him later. Not only is this an annoying cliche we've seen done a million times before, but half of the scenes in this show with Michelle revolve around this.
Oh, I knew you were a dangerous man. Randy, what kind of a con artist are you anyway?
I appreciate the apology, but you really hurt me back at the cabin.
Let me help.
You've done more than enough. And just for the record, I never liked you.
I don't want to say I hate EB and Michelle. They're fun characters and they do add a certain atmosphere to the show. It's just Michelle specifically wasn't handled the best. Continuing with the flaws, there's the big twist that's revealed towards the end of the season, where Sam is revealed to be a poacher and the bad guys are actually good guys who don't work for Snurd. The thing about a twist is that it's interesting if it's built up properly without the viewer noticing. If the twist is obvious, there's no shock value, but if it comes out of nowhere, it feels cheap and unearned. In some places, Green Eggs and Ham does a very good job foreshadowing its twist. For example, there's a scene where Sam gets locked up in prison and he gets one phone call. The scene leaves off with Sam making a literal call for help, making the audience think he's not going to use his actual phone call. We then transition to Snurd, who receives a call telling him the Chikoraph is on the way. This works. It's something that you can easily miss the first time around, yet it's a clear indication of what's going on. However, ultimately the twist fails as a whole because it cheats to catch you off guard. Yeah, that's never explained.
Whatever you do, please don't hurt me.
Why would we hurt you? We're the good guys.
Previously on Avatar.
Don't hurt me. I'll tell you anything.
Where's the giraffe?
Also, it's never really fully explained of why Sam does these types of jobs. I mean, I can assume it's because he just needs money to travel. The show did make it clear that Sam is constantly short on cash, but that's really me having to apply headcanon. Finally, the biggest flaw of this show that absolutely cannot be overlooked: the fox is not wearing socks. Huge missed opportunity there. So yeah, all these flaws along with little nitpicks that pop up here and there definitely showcase that Green Eggs and Ham isn't perfect, but despite that, it's still a great cartoon and a marvelous experience. Season 2 is supposedly scheduled to come out next month, but if I'm being honest, I don't really want a season 2. Don't get me wrong, I want more of this. Oh, do I desperately want more of this? But I would rather this be a show about Dr. Seuss's world as a whole rather than just Green Eggs and Ham. Now that we've had a journey with Guy and Sam, give us some variety. Make season 2 about the Doorags, season 3 about the Grinch. I mean, can you imagine if this show tackled all the places you'll go? They'd have so much material to go off of. Still, if season 2 is just a continuation of Guy and Sam's adventures, it's not like it's suddenly gonna be bad. Whether it's the amazing animation, the funny and interesting characters, or the captivating story, this show has a lot to offer and is deserving of the reputation that comes with Dr. Seuss. This has been Shady Doorags. So long, farewell, Bad Vita's saying goodbye.